and suspicious in front of this new competitor. I was a bit impressed with her, and she was a bit afraid of this young research worker asking bizarre questions. Then, progressively over the years, we learned to know each other better through discussions, and also to trust each other, and finally to share our common passion for the hen and the egg. Throughout years, with the visit of our laboratories and the writing of common papers, I established a strong relationship with Sally based on reciprocal confidence and respect. Sally shared her passion for the hen as a biological model with many different people, a large network of friends, her students, some journalists, and she could always be persuaded to volunteer to tell a nice story on the egg of the hen. Sally had a unique ability to effectively communicate her science to a varied audience and had a strong relationship with the poultry industry, developing research contracts which focused on specific industry-related problems. In the 90s, she started giving egg quality workshops and focused the attention of geneticists, nutritionists, and producers on egg quality problems. She continued to give these workshops during her retirement and would occasionally still attend meetings and conferences. Her death in February came as a shock to everyone. Sally was a generous and warm woman and shared her daily life for more than 40 years with Roger, her husband. She was always very friendly and she loved to laugh. I always remember when Sally, Julie and Maureen started to giggle when a poor scientist with a strong Franchi accent was trying to speak in the language of Shakespeare. At least he didn't have to speak in the language of birds. We shared a lot of conviviality and some joyful moments, mutual teasing and this joy of living. These moments of sharing and of exchange I want to keep in mind. Sally, thank you for all these shared moments.
So Eve had a unique way of pronouncing guinea fowl. He would always say the guinea fowl. And he also had a unique way of saying one of our other colleagues' names, but I'll tell you about that later independently because it can be a bit rude. But we would always burst out laughing every time we referred to this individual's work, so we did laugh a lot. Okay, I'm going to give this another try, and if this fails, I will go back to my original method, which I tried out last night at home. I brought my own telly, because I thought things might go wrong. And so just bear with me 1 second, we'll give this another go. Please speak, Julie. Make sure this works in just a moment. Jules, could I ask you to come? So as you all know, Sally retired around about 2003, and we never quite knew whether Sally had retired or not because it was one of these days where she finished work at 5 o'clock on a Friday, she shut the door and she just didn't come back. She didn't have any celebration, she just walked out the door. And we never quite understood why she didn't want to celebrate. And it was only once we had time to think about it, we realised that probably Sally wasn't ready to retire when she did. And she took quite a long time to come to terms with the fact that she was giving up such a lot to basically move to Brantholm. However, subsequently, she resurrected herself in many different ways, as Sally always did. She did some art for a while, and then she got involved with Alltech, a commercial company who wanted to basically encourage Sally to continue educating people about eggs. And Jules is from Alltech and is also a very good friend of Sally over the years, and she'll tell you her story now.
So yeah, I met Sally in 2005 when she came to speak at one of our technical seminars on eggshell quality. And I think Wendy, you were the one who were working with us at the time, introduced me to Sally. Little did I realise then that not only would we become work colleagues, but really good friends. And I really did enjoy working with her. She took me under her wing and appointed herself as my mentor. And she gave me a lot of inspiration, a lot of help and advice. I think she found Alltech in itself a bit of a strange company. She was, half the time she couldn't get hold of me because I'd been travelling around the world, and then when she could get hold of me, I'd then get a lecture about how I needed to slow down and I had to look at the work-life balance and things like that. So we had some lovely chats, and like I say, she had a big influence on my career. We spent a couple of days in Paris last year, and someone commented earlier on her love for French. She did insist on taking me to a sushi restaurant, and we did have some fantastic sushi. And she also took me to one of the healthy supermarkets. I can't remember what it's called, but she was told, you have to come and look at these eggs. And we went to look at these eggs, and the eggs, they were dirty, unwashed eggs that the French consumers would pay a premium for. And we just couldn't believe it, because over here, you just wouldn't see them in the shops really, and you certainly wouldn't be paying 3 times the price of them. But that was one thing that she insisted that she had to show me. So as a consultant, she obviously travelled a lot, and one of the things that we liked about Sally was the fact that someone else, as you mentioned earlier, she could talk to every level of person. She could talk to a farmer, she could talk to the high-level professors, and we did a lot of workshops with her where she'd get the producers to bring their eggs in. She adapted a microscope to travel around with her so that she could actually look at the eggs in situ with the customer sat next to her, and it was a fantastic piece. But I have to say, although she travelled a lot, something always went wrong. There was never a trip where there wasn't some form of a disaster. So I wanted to relay a couple of stories. Russia, in particular, was always an interesting one. And on this particular occasion, Roger had sent the passports off to get the visas for Russia. And Sally had been invited to speak at our annual symposium in Lexington, Kentucky in May. There should have been plenty of time to get the passports back. Of course, there wasn't. So my assistant, who's based in Ireland, had to get the visas rushed through in Ireland, had to fly to Paris to meet Roger and Sally at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport to hand over the passports so that they could travel to America. Prior to this, Sally had phoned my assistant and said, "Bobby, don't worry, it's okay. I'll just ring Dr. Lyons, who's our boss, and I'll just tell him that I can't come to America because you couldn't get my visa sorted." Blissfully unaware that that would have ended both of our careers in one fell swoop. So hence the flight to Paris to get the passports to them. And there's lots of stories, but there's another one which I find particularly amusing, which is from last year when Sally and Roger went to America to do some workshops. And she came back, and she was happily telling me that she'd seen these balls on the back of trucks in America. So she'd asked the sales rep that she was travelling with, you know, what were they? And he reliably informed her that they could be purchased from any petrol station. So off Sally went, because she had to have a pair, and she wanted chrome. So she got to the petrol station, and then she said, "Jules, I just couldn't do it to the wee man behind the counter. I couldn't ask for a pair of the balls to go on the back of the truck." So she got home, and much to her delight, the sales guy had bought a pair for her and mailed them to her. So she was chuffed to bits. Unfortunately, Roger wouldn't allow her to place them on the back of their Fiat 500. And I have to say, Roger, that's probably one of the few occasions where you were able to put your foot down. You all know that Sally wore the trousers in the sole of the household. So I have to say, this surprised me a little bit. So I thought, I'm going to have to Google this. So I'm there at Google, and I'm thinking, right, what words do I put in? Bear in mind, it's a work laptop that I'm giving it on. So I put in pickup truck balls, and it came up, they're called truck nuts. And they are traditionally hung on the back of trucks for homosexual men to identify each other. So now I know why Roger wouldn't let them. So, as I say, there's lots of different stories that I could tell you, but that's just a couple that I find very, very amusing. We'll all miss her. She had a flair for fun, and I said this morning, she'll be up there laughing at us all day in the rain, cold and wet. But we will all miss her, and I think rest in peace, Sally.
I'm going to try this on my situation over here. This is my son's television from his Xbox, which he's not using this morning. I can tell you a story about Sally Chapman as well. Sally was a great shopper, as most of you know, in this room. And everywhere we went, she always encouraged me to buy something that would remind me of our trips, which I'm very grateful for, because I go into my house now and I can look around every room in the house and there's something there that reminds me of her. But Sally would encourage me to buy one thing, but she would come back with 20 things. And it got to the stage at Roger, I used to always marvel at how you would come to the airport to pick Sally up. But she knew that you would be waiting outside the arrivals, whereas I was like to deal with myself as usual. And she would say to me, right, Maureen, what I want you to do now is to take some of these bags and pretend they're yours. Because Roger will get me into trouble. And sure enough, I would come through with multiple bags, and we would get to the exit, we would say goodbye, and then Sally would sort of turn to Roger and say, just a minute, Roger, it's a bit more than what you think. So, why am I not doing well here? Why is my television not going on? Somebody help me.
David, you know about this thing.
David?
You're the mainstay for it.
Julie will laugh at this. Julie has the most infectious laugh ever. Okay, let's see if we get it to work through my little tail. So I'll just close it and start. Sorry, my daughter will kill me. Let me just try this one more time. This is what we did last night.
Can you see what's going on? What's wrong there? No.
I love her and I miss her. The world is a less cheerful place without her. I first met Sally in 1990 when she and Maureen visited Armidale following Sally's invited presentation at the Poultry Feed Convention on the Gold Coast. My former student Cindy Brackville had alerted me to Sally's work and also to her attendance at the convention. Sally and Maureen bravely accepted my invitation to stay at my house, and one notable occasion was when they had just finished telling me how afraid they were of the spiders in Australia. A very large huntsman sauntered its way across the lounge room ceiling right on top of them. They also had an interesting time on that trip navigating the plumbing that was in my place at the time. Sally and I submitted a successful application for funding to the Egg Corporation, and this meant that we were able to meet on regular occasions. My first visit was in 1990, and then again I had sabbatical visits in 1993 and 1996, as well as some other visits. Sally introduced me to the European conferences, the Egg Quality Symposium and the European Poultry Conference, and I attended those regularly since the early 1990s, and thus again was able to catch up with Sally on those occasions. During my 1993 visit, Sally, Kate and I also visited Eve and his colleagues at INRA, which was a real highlight. Another notable occasion was the conference in Verona, where I helped Sally to put up her beautiful display of fabrics printed with images from eggshells, and that was a great success. Sally introduced me and my students to the joys of eggshell ultrastructure, and we continue to do the studies right up to this day. Sally and her team were pioneers in the field of research, just as Sally and her mentors had been pioneers in the field of histology and electron microscopy of the oviduct. And now Maureen and her students are continuing Sally's legacy by moving into new and interesting fields of study related to eggs. I have enjoyed a number of visits to Sally and Roger's lovely home in Brantong, the first being when the house was still in its original condition. On that visit I got into trouble from Sally for not mowing the lawn in the right direction to end up with those nice stripes that she liked so much. In 2010, my late partner Tim and I visited Sally and Roger again following the European Poultry Conference. We had a lovely visit, which we enjoyed very, very much, and by this stage the house was fully renovated and it is a truly beautiful place. I was fortunate in visiting again recently when I was in France, visiting Roger there and enjoying the beautiful spot that is Brantôme. It is really a little piece of paradise. Sally used to grumble sometimes about wanting to return to the UK, but she loved Brantôme and was very happy in her life there with Roger. Sally was a larger-than-life personality who touched the lives of so many people in a positive way. This recording, for example, is being made by my friends Lou and Gary, who met Sally and Roger during their visit to Brisbane and also Armidale, and who loved her as well. Wherever you are, Sally, be at peace. We will never forget you.
People working in eggs and poultry in general are, and Sally was really a major player in that group. As well as being within academia and sharing her research experience, she also contributed to the industry by taking major roles in many of the major committees. And one of those committees was to be the chairperson of British Poultry Science. And our last speaker this afternoon...
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Our last speaker this afternoon is her secretary, is that the right word, George? Would you call you her secretary? Company secretary of British Poultry Science. And George and Sally shared a really wonderful relationship in the role that Sally played there, which was to be the chairman of the group who lead the journal. So I'm going to ask George to finish this afternoon, and then we'll break and go and have some lunch.
There was not just the rain today, it was another omen as we arrived early. Would you believe it, at the door there was a mallard duck trying to get in, presumably wanting to lay an egg. Sally and I first met when she was company secretary of British Poultry Science, a role for which her skills were not admirably suited. I realised that when the first value-added tax return had to be submitted. There were 4 boxes to be filled, all with one figure, 0. We had a 2-week panic. Endless phone calls, and I thought, this isn't good enough, I'll take over that role. And she accepted my suggestion with a speed only equalled with the speed that Sally would head for market stalls spotted at 500 yards. So we moved her in to be chair, and she was exceptionally suited for that role. I think she was at her brilliant best at conferences, where Sally, with her own academic reputation, peerless reputation, interest in everybody else, particularly an interest in the young people, some of whom we supported. Her personality on the stand, her warmth, her interest, made these very happy occasions. Out of it, though, grew a very personal friendship between me and Sally and Roger. And I hope you won't mind if I take you away from academia and give you an insight into other side of Sally, which was that I managed to persuade her to holiday, and she came, and I actually persuaded her to come to Thailand, where I go each year to escape winter. And Tally, full of misgivings, came to Thailand. The warm country with the big smile met the warm lady with the big smile. Never could two have been better matched. She adored it from day one. And we had 5 very happy years. And some insights into Sally there might just surprise you. She loved human nature. She loved seeing the ebbing and tide of human life going by. So down to the local beach we went. And what did she do? She brought out one of these iPaddy or poddy things, whatever you call them, I'm 19th century. And she photographed moobs surreptitiously. What are moobs? Elderly, overweight gentlemen, undressed, showing male bosoms. And she surreptitiously photographed these and giggled over them at night. Sally attracted vendors on the beach. Are you surprised? And she sat there contentedly saying, the shopping has come to me. And I said, you're a shopaholic. I'm not a shopaholic. Sorry, Trudy, she said, wait till you meet my sister. You got the blame. And would you believe it, Sally was very taken with the ladyboy culture in Thailand. If you go into a room in Thailand, the prettiest girl in the place is going to be a man. Sally, every year we had to go to one particular restaurant where Sally could remake her connection with Vicky. Vicky was the classiest chassis in town by far. And they always had to have a photograph and a hug. But this year, Sally's observation of human nature said, when we sat down for dinner afterwards, since last year, that's a false bottom. The real thing could never be superb. I got Sally doing things she'd never dreamt of doing. I got her in boats. Generally, she was seasick at the sight of water. I got her on the back of a motorbike. It didn't go very far because she clamped her foot on the brake and the driver couldn't get it to go. But she was loved by the Thais too, and this year we went a long boat journey up to a Thai friend of mine to see his house. Sally wanted to see his house. And that friend today, by the way, sends his greetings, and he's going to the temple to say a prayer for Sally today, away from Thailand, which is rather nice. We went to his house, and we then went to a restaurant. Lovely restaurant, a veranda overlooking a lotus bloom pond, a lovely meal, and then some music struck up. And would you believe it? There's Sally on the stage singing, and she sang quite beautifully. Her father, of course, had been a music hall performer of whom she was very proud and of great renown. Sally sang beautifully, and she ended up with a duet with my Thai friend. And then she got from the manager of the restaurant her first professional fee, a bunch of 5 small bananas. We did eventually manage to persuade her to share them with us. So back to the apartment which we shared each year. I will sit in my balcony if I go back in the future, and I will wait for Sally to get up from the main room and walk through to the bedroom. And what will I be listening for? I'll be listening for, Roger, bring me. And Roger saying, yes, dear. But I was privileged to witness 2 mini Roger rebellions in these years, and that's a fine sight. But the best Roger is one I will always treasure. Roger, come and help me off with these. I was sitting in the balcony, it was irresistible. I shouted, memories, dear. And an avenging Solomon appeared, brandishing an umbrella, to attack me for my impertinence. She was wonderful there. Sally, as I look above my, perhaps one other thing, one particular hotel they went to sent a message back saying, Madame never passed reception without a smile and a friendly word, and they loved her coming all these years. And that's what I want to finish on, the smile. Above my desk was various photographs. Sally with her beloved Thai tiger cubs. And Sally with that wonderful, quizzical look, that impish smile, which says so much about this lady of supreme intelligence, warmth, affection, generosity, kindness, who's touched all our lives so much and made them happier. And I want everybody here, as we enter a period shortly of reflection, personal, to remember Sally as she would have wanted, with a great big smile. And my smile, unlike David, who knew Sally's date of birth, Sally had me utterly convinced for years she was 4 years younger than me, and the bosom was a year older. Well done, Val, and thanks for everything, and we'll now have some quiet reflection.
I should tell you about. And that is that Alltech, with Jules' permission if you don't mind, Alltech are keen to sponsor a studentship in memory of Sally for poultry science students in the future. And we're hoping that we'll get this confirmed as to exactly what we can do with this sponsorship over the next few weeks. So Sally's memory will continue, and hopefully every student coming into university who has an interest in poultry or poultry science in any way will get to know Sally even though she's no longer with us through this studentship and recognition that the Alltech and all of us in this room have for her, and admiration, of course. So thank you very much for listening to our stories this afternoon. I hope you'll continue to talk through lunchtime, which the lunch, as I say, is across the way, so you need to put your coats back on, I'm afraid. But you're welcome to stay at the field station for as long as you feel you want to today, to enjoy the scenery. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a bit much to expect you to go for a nice walk, but you're welcome to stay as long as you wish. Thank you very much for coming.